to the main topic, and I've got the first one here. So, Casey, everyone is always clamoring about what is the difference between single coils and humbuckers. But I want to ask you,
Yeah.
which one rules them all?
Which,
If you had to choose one, and to explain to like people who maybe don't really understand the difference between single coils and humbuckers and why you might use one over the other.
well, if you're playing a telly, you would play single coils, and if you're playing a Les Paul, you'd play humbuckers.
Yeah, I know that, but go into more detail, would you?
So for me, when you would pick them, so classically, the single coil has been known to be a lot of times like kind of a country thing, right? So it was very initially kind of built around country music, I think. I think the humbucker
Leo
stuff.
Fender might disagree with that. Buddy Holly might disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Sorry.
There's different stuff out there. People play different things. But I think generally today when people look at those guitars, that's kind of what they point to a lot of times.
Country, blues,
Yeah.
a lot of like roots music.
Yeah.
To be fair, because that's kind of how it all started.
When you think of Nile Rodgers playing all that funk stuff, can you imagine him playing anything other than Strat?
No.
There's nothing else.
Continuum, John Mayer.
Yeah. Right?
I mean,
Case and point.
yeah.
So that's kind of the stuff you think of whenever you go into there. And when you think of humbuckers, I think there's a couple different camps. But I think most people look into rock and roll stuff. They think of Slash, and they think of Jimmy Page and Les Pauls, and they think of like Angus with his SGs and Tony Iommi doing that stuff. And then there's
Zach Wild.
Right.
You got the heavier side too.
yeah, and those are active, so that's a whole nother thing, right? And then on the other end of it, you look at like 335s and the jazzers and stuff that were playing the humbuckers.
They also play tellies too.
Oh yeah, there's different stuff, and Charlie Christian pickups and all that different things. Right. But for me, I think there's no one pickup to rule them all for me, for sure. It's kind of like Pokemon. I got to collect them all. Like, I want a little bit of them all. And then you've got the P90 side of things, right? So we haven't even talked about
that's a single
P90s,
coil.
which is a single coil thing. And then you got, all the different guys that played that stuff. I think it's really...
If you have to choose one,
Yeah.
I'm forcing you.
Oh, no.
You have to make one decision. You could play one for the rest of your life.
Rest of my life.
A single coil or a humbucker. Which are you choosing?
Oh, my gosh.
A double stacked single coil does not count.
Okay. I'm going to... this is like sacrilegious for me, but I'm going to pick single coil.
Why are you going with single coil?
So for me, especially if I can get a P90 in there. So I just think that, I think versatility-wise, they might be a little more versatile than the humbucker, generally speaking. It's really hard to speak in those terms. So whenever I pick up my telly and I'm playing and I want to countrify it out and play a bunch of country licks, it can get, quacky with them all. If I want to play a Strat and do Stevie or John Mayer or whatever, some funk stuff, that's always there. If I want to play like Keith Richards style rock and roll, classic rock stuff, if you want to do, Blackberry Smoke with P90s, if you want to do, there's a ton of options. And I think that you can always add compression. You can always add level and gain into anything, and it will compress and squish and get tighter. But you can't go the other way with it. It's kind of like how I feel about setting up gain for amps and for pedals, is I would rather be on the low end of things and like slowly boost into it to get more compression, because if you start with a humbucker, you've got a baseline of compression and level that you can't back out of. You can't get it more open, you can't get it more twangy.
I tell you what, see this knob?
Yeah.
It's called treble.
Yep.
You can turn that up.
You can. It's not the same though.
See presence? You
Yeah.
can turn that up.
Yeah, and I do. I like a really bright sound though.
Have you heard Joe Bonamassa chicken pick on a Les Paul?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like single coil.
You know what though? I don't sound like Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah.
I can't do that, man.
Right.
I've tried and tried, and my Les Paul is very bright. It's very bright, it's very punchy, and it's really telly-esque. Mm-hmm. But there is just something completely different. I feel like if I'm stuck in a room...
So, to help you... Sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
It's okay.
It's just what I do.
It's hard, man.
So, if you're John 5,
Yeah.
you can make a telly work, although he uses humbuckers.
Yeah.
All right, you can play your communication breakdown. You can kind of get all that done with the telly and single coils. I'm going to say you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because you can be playing a 335, and guess what? You can play anything on a 335.
Yeah, you can play
Any style of music you want.
Yeah.
You know, you might not want to play Slipknot on a 335. I get that.
Yeah.
But the feedback might kill you. But as far as, you know, if you want to play any type of genre, I think a 335 or something with humbuckers
Really?
is the way to go.
Oh man. Well, let me hear your argument with that
So,
then,
okay.
because I disagree.
Because, okay, I have a Gibson SG. All right, it has all the mids that you would need.
Yeah.
It cuts through the mix. I can turn that tone up and on my amp, and guess what? It gets pretty bright.
Yeah.
Or
I'm not just looking for bright.
I know. Guess what? They make EQ pedals, Casey,
Yeah.
where you can totally change your sound
Yep.
and you can get that brightness.
You're right.
Now, are you going to be able to chicken pick it? Probably not completely. But guess what? Those humbuckers will apply to any style of music. You can't get a single coil to sound thick if you really want it to. Not truly. If you have,
They got things
if
called
you-
EQ pedals.
Yeah, and you can put a big muff on it and stuff like that. I get
Yeah.
that. But I truly think that you can EQ a humbucker.
Put a big muff on it? That's what she said.
Okay, stop. Anyways, I really think that you are better suited for, like, you know, maybe a humbucker style of sound. If you want to rule them all and have only one pickup, I think that's it.
Yeah, I would go the other way with it. I would be
fine.
single coil every time. And you know, if I stack enough gain on there, I mean, I don't know, what are you missing in a single coil that you can't get?
All right, let me tell you, when you stack all that gain, tell me how the hum works out for you.
Well, yeah, the hum doesn't work well. But
It
then
doesn't-
I just
no.
roll my volume down or kick the pedal off.
Just
real
roll your
quick.
volume down. Just get a noise gate on there. It'll all sound the
not
same.
a noise gate. I don't mind hum. I don't mind hum most of the time.
Well, I guess you've never had it in a situation where it's been a problem.
Yeah, I haven't. Not where it's a big enough problem that's an issue.
Okay, that's why you get a humbucker.
Yeah.
That's
Just
the
trying
whole
to
reason.
buck that hum.
That's right. That's it, and it'll solve all your problems.
Yeah, well,
It turns all your bad feelings into good.
what's crazy is if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said without question, I'm a humbucker dude. I'm never gonna play a single coil all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But now I feel completely different. You know, I've got my Duesenberg, which has that P90 in the neck, and my Telly. Those two guitars I play a lot now, like a lot. And I never would have thought that would have been the case. But it's about finding the right system for you. And yeah, I don't feel the same way as I used to. It's crazy.
That is, you've totally done a 180.
Yes.
Like, for the people out there that have no idea your background,
Yep.
like where you started and where you ended up is different. Well, you know, same for me.
Yeah.
You started with 80s metal, hair metal.
Yeah.
And mine was like metal,
heavy
like
rock,
Pantera, or Megadeth, and yeah, we changed a lot. So I think, to me, going back to the point, humbucker is probably more versatile to cover any type of music.
Yeah, and my point is a single coil is more versatile to cover different types of music.
So anyways, let us know what you guys think. Obviously, we can't agree, so let
Tell
us
him
know.
he's wrong.